Hello and welcome to a special bonus episode of YXE Underground. I'm Eric Anderson, and I'm so excited to share with you an interview with Katayoon Navabi. Kati is the program director for the Pay Band Society, which is a non-profit organization here in Saskatoon that promotes cultural dialogue. Kati is also on the organizing committee of the Saskatoon Diaspora Film Festival. This film festival, now in its third year, shows movies that tell stories of migration, immigration, and of people settling into their new homes while trying to create community. It's taking place this weekend at the Reme Modern's beautiful theater, and you can learn more by visiting payvand-society.ca. I will put a link in the show notes to the website. I was introduced to Kati by our mutual friend and amazing human being, April Sora, and I'm so glad she made this interview happen because, as you are about to discover, Kati is simply wonderful. She is originally from Iran, where she grew up in a family that loved to tell stories. Whether it was reading, listening, or cinema, Kati was surrounded by rich storytellers. She attended university in Edmonton before moving to Saskatoon in 2010 and is passionate about sharing stories of migration and immigration with our community. I met Kati this past weekend at the Hedgehog Bakery and Cafe on First Avenue North, which, by the way, is a great local cafe. And I started by asking where the idea for this film festival came from.
Okay, the idea originally, came from our friend Shahram Tabe, who is the founder of Toronto Diaspora Film Festival. That film festival was founded, I think, more than 20 years ago in Toronto. And as a person who couldn't attend that film festival because it was too far away, I thought I'd bring it home. And just because the founder is a good friend of ours, we could make a partnership with them so that we have a sister branch of the festival here in Saskatoon. And this year is the third one that we are organizing it.
That's so wonderful. How much work does it, like, I've never met someone who has started their own film festival. Like, how much work does it take?
Well, it is a very small festival, first of all. And the other thing is that we have a really good team. So it's not really, I shouldn't say it's too much work, because our partnership with Reme Modern and working with Kyle Zarowensky has made things much, much easier. Also, as of the second year of the film festival, we have some funding, very modest, but some funding that we can take care of some of the designing the posters and the website and all can be contracted through actually a professional designer. So I don't want to say that it's not a lot of work. It is some amount of work, but it is fun because it's a great team who make it easy.
It's nice when you're working with wonderful colleagues who are pulling in the same direction, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
It is.
I'm so curious about why these types of stories in terms of the migration and settling into a new home. Why do those stories hit home for you?
So let me tell you a little bit about Pay Band Society. It is a relatively new organization here in Saskatoon. We, after the aftermath of the Women Life Freedom movement in Iran, we decided to establish this organization as a way to celebrate cultural diversity, but also respecting our differences. And then what happened was that we found art, cinema, and culture as a tool that brings people together. Because when I look at it, we were fighting for women's rights in Iran, but the same challenges exist here in North America, maybe under a surface, but the same challenges exist. So I think we had a hard time showing people that what we are fighting for is exactly what you are fighting for, maybe just in a different, on a different layer. So the similarities of the stories between the Iranian culture and the North American culture and all the other cultures, you name it, brought us to a point that we can tap into stories to bring people together. Yeah, that's how it all came together.
And you were telling me before we started recording, the name of your organization has a special meaning, right?
Yes, peyvand means connection. It's a Persian word that means connection.
Do you see that kind of connection happening here in Saskatoon? Like I feel lucky in terms of the podcast the last 8 years. Like you know, there's lots of different, there's so much diversity in Saskatoon, but I feel like it's still like, you know, it's a pretty close-knit community. But I'm wondering, as someone who's lived here for the last 15 years, like, do you see that kind of diversity and that kind of community in Saskatoon?
I definitely see that with a but. Let's focus on the positive first, which is the diversity is there, the response to celebrating the diversity and respecting the differences is there. One other thing that I need to mention before I answer your question is that Saskatoon Open Door Society, which is bringing all the different people of different cultures together, is also a partner with us for the film festival. So the answer to your question is yes, definitely, it is there. I want to have a but here, and the but is that we tend to look at different cultures in boxes. But as a person who has lived in Saskatoon for the last 15 years, I can't necessarily define myself to a certain culture. And I think for most immigrants, that's the case. Their culture evolve as they see other cultures. They learn from each other. So I think the way we look at cultural diversity is all defined in boxes. And I'm hoping that storytelling, watching movies together can show us that these boxes can be broken. These borders do not need to exist, because as Iranian as I am Italian, I'm Afghan, I'm Turk, I don't belong to just one culture. I think I like to break those boxes.
I love that. So then how do you go about trying to break those boxes then?
So particularly, just because we're talking about the film festival, I can use the film festival as an example, that you see a story of a Kurdish family who lived in Turkey and had to migrate to Japan. The story of this family, regardless of where they come from and regardless of the geography of the movie, the story of this family can apply to any immigrant family. It doesn't matter that it's an interaction of a Turkish Kurd family in Japan or an Iranian in Canada. I think there are so much in common between us. We are more similar to each other than we think. And I think stories like telling stories and listening to other people's stories just re-emphasizes how similar we are with each other. Yeah.
No, I love that. And I love how you just said it's not only the telling of stories, but it's the listening as well, because I get frustrated sometimes because I don't think we listen enough in our society today. Do you think that you're nodding your head?
Big time, especially when you see newcomers engaged to engage in their own culture and maybe exposed by a little bit of discrimination. A way of a way of resiliency for them is just to make their own story bolder and bigger, and not just and maybe not listening to others. And I'm saying that from experience. My very first days as an international student, I wanted to just tap into my own culture, but you get to a point that you learn that by listening to others, you every human can bring an entire world to your little room. So,
do you remember a time where, like, when you first came to Saskatoon and something maybe like, I was going to say blew your mind, but that's maybe too grand, but like something that really surprised you, like that you were listening, because you just said it's like, I want to bring my culture, but then, like you said, if you listen, but do you remember a time when that happened to you?
So, me being in Saskatoon, I was not new to Canada. I lived in Edmonton for 5 years before coming to Canada. But when I came to Saskatoon, in Edmonton, I was just a goof, happy student, had a lot of friends, and I didn't even know that I am an immigrant when I was living as a student. I was in a silly different world. But when I came to Saskatoon, I came here for a job, and it was my encounter to real world, and it was a very cold December here in Saskatoon, until I found a yoga studio. And that's where I found most of my friends, and I keep on telling this in every interview that I go to. But that yoga studio was a beautiful community, a lot of great people that I met, and good friends that I made. And maybe that's why yoga is a part of my life today. But my point is that that community and how welcoming they were was that moment.
Yeah. Oh, I love
Yeah.
it. Yeah. Which studio was it, if you don't mind my asking?
It was One Yoga. It doesn't exist anymore.
So
but
I used to practice.
No
I
way!
did. Not well. I still do.
Nothing about yoga needs to be perfect.
I am living proof of that. But yes, lovely space, and yeah.
I miss it. I miss it so badly.
Do you still practice yoga?
I do.
Okay.
I go to Sweatco now.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Very nice. Thank you for sharing that, because I know I put you on the spot. It is becoming clear to me that you really appreciate and recognize like the power of telling a good story. Where does that come from? Like, was that something like sort of ingrained in your family, or where does your love of stories come from?
My love of stories. I can fill up your 16 hours of tape with that question. But I told you, my parents were teachers, and reading from the very young age was a part of my life. And I always started, like as a little kid, I was into reading, and I love reading stories and novels, and I get stuck to them. Even a bad story, I get stuck to it. So yeah, the love of reading and reading novels, and then as I grew a little older, love of cinema, really, the art of cinema and a good movie. It just doesn't replace it. You cannot replace it with anything.
No, I totally agree. There's something about being in a theater, especially, and I know we were talking before, but we both are big fans of Kyle at the Reme, and we talked about that when he was on the podcast earlier this year. The being in a cinema and just the outside world sort of vanishes for a couple hours, doesn't it? And you're just there in the story.
Exactly. Yeah. And that's why you don't want anybody to be around you. You just want to sink in that chair.
Oh, I love it. Kathy, if there are listeners out there who want to take in the festival or want to learn more, where can they find more information, and where can they see the films? how do they take part?
Thank you. This is a really great question because one of our weaknesses is in promoting and putting the word out there. So the festival starts on Friday, October 24th. We have one screening on that night at 7 p.m. and then two screenings, two on Saturday, 25th, and two screenings on Sunday, 26th. And all the information is on the Remy Modern's website. It's also on Payvan Society's website, all the details of the movies and the timing. One other thing that I want to bring up is that we have, on Saturday and Sunday we have the screening. One starts at 1 p.m. and the second one starts at 4 p.m. And between the two movies, we have a mini reception. And I really want to encourage people to come and join us on those mini receptions and find new friends and talk about the stories that they got to watch.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's so great. Kati, it's been so lovely to meet you. I can't wait. I've checking out the films. There's a couple I really want to see already. But before we go, can we both talk about how much April Sora is just wonderful? Because I just want to say April was the one that put me in touch with you, and I'm so grateful for that because you're just wonderful. But how great is April?
April Sora is a woman of magic. Well, first of all, I'm very thankful that she put us in touch. It's very nice to meet you and have this conversation and also put the words out for the film festival. But I also wanted to thank her especially for being such a great connector in the Saskatoon community. She connects people and resources to each other in such a way that you cannot even imagine it in your wildest dreams. Yeah, many thanks, April.
Kati, so nice to meet you, and good luck with the festival.
Thank you. Hope to see you there. Thanks.